Good morning, good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Buckeye Roast. It's more of a special edition because we have been gone for a minute. It has been a while since we did this. I wasn't sure if I remembered how to do it, but we are here after riding the roller coaster all day yesterday with Ohio State through National Signing Day. Q, how are you doing?
Not too bad, man. Back on the East Coast, so getting readjusted to the time, but hey, man, I can't complain. You know,
Chat was giving you a pass for being late. They're like, "Oh, he's just wiping the dust out of his eyes." I was like, "God damn it, he's in Virginia. There is no excuse today."
Okay, you're right. I haven't lived 3 hours behind for the last few months. Not like that.
It's just like flipping a switch.
Oh man, that's too funny. But yeah, man, another eventful signing day, another fun day in the sunlight. So what can I complain about?
Nothing to complain about yesterday. I mean, we lose one commitment, but I mean, honestly, that's pretty modest for Ohio State standards. National Signing Day is usually national try to hold on to your class day for the Buckeyes, and boy, did they live up to that yesterday. Just walk me through your day, because leading up to signing day, Kris Drew had a saying, "I'm not going to ride the roller coaster." He just kept telling me every time we got on the phone, it's like, "I'm not riding the roller coaster." Every time someone calls me with recruiting shit, I'm not going. Like, I'm not riding the roller coaster. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. I talked to Kris Drew last night. He's like, "I was doing fine. I didn't worry at all." And then about 5 o'clock, I got on the roller coaster. And it was stressful. And I was on the phone with Kris, and he was like, "Man, I just got a text, and it's not good news, and I don't want to cause panic." I'm like, "Tell me now." So it was a long day, but the Buckeyes come away with the number one player in the class in Jeremiah Smith. They continue their run of South Florida Express players as this becomes the South Florida Express Buckeyes. It feels like they hold on to Mylan Graham. They flip Edric, or they keep, it feels like a flip. They keep Edric Houston. We wake up yesterday morning and it sounds like Edric Houston's going to Alabama. I mean, I jumped the gun so much that I fired Larry Johnson before 11 a.m. yesterday. Like, that's how that's how much I was on the roller coaster. It felt like a season pass at Cedar Point yesterday, but yesterday was a wild day, Q. So just take me through your day of National Signing Day for the Buckeyes.
Well, I guess it was started the day before because me and Kris Drew recorded the first part of State of the Program Tuesday night going in. And he asked me how I felt going to National Signing Day, and I was like, "Well, good luck," because I knew fuckery was gonna ensue because it always does. So I'm just like, man, look, let's get through this. We know this is Ohio State. We don't flip players on National Signing Day. We have players get flipped. So let's just try to avoid all that and go in as smooth as possible. And starting at 8 a.m., it was just up. Smith might be out. McClellan might be out. Houston might be out. And it was like, oh, hell, here we go. So it was just riding the wave, man. McClellan obviously flipped out early, which I said that was my sleeper in the class. So bad pick there on my part. It looked like Houston was out. Ryan Day with a last-minute save, and Jeremiah Smith held out till 10 o'clock at night. So obviously,
yeah, it felt like forever, man. The lawyers were just going over the fine print there.
He better be driving a Rolls Royce into spring ball, because the way he held out, he should have got a heck of a deal.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just a whirlwind of a day. But man, how would you grade this class? I mean, now that it's rounding into shape, 21 players, we thought that this would be a bigger class. We lose Justin Scott to Miami. We miss on a few defensive line guys. But I mean, all in all, we got 2 5-star receivers. We got the quarterback that we wanted. And then we got a pair of corners that, I mean, it feels like the hype has died down. But man, was this a cycle of like real recruiting battles that we ended up coming out and winning. I mean, Brian Hartline going wire to wire with Jeremiah Hartline, but one of the more forgotten recruitments that seems like it was yesteryear, but during the summer, all of the talk was about 2 recruits. Aaron Scott and Bryce West. They officially signed with the Buckeyes yesterday, but man, that was a battle with Michigan this summer. I mean, we dunked on someone on Twitter yesterday or the other day from Michigan talking about these just more guys that are going to get toasted by Michigan, and it's like I just looked at your tweets, buddy. 6 months ago, you were begging for these guys to come play for Michigan, so I'm confused by your rhetoric here because you guys wanted Bryce West and Aaron Scott, and we just got two gems and 5-star corners out of Bryce West and Aaron Scott. Your thoughts on those two signings?
Obviously those two, and Tim Walton did a great job here with Miles as well. The quarterback room looks good, bringing them in. I mean, those are two that were in state. You had to have them. You couldn't lose them, and they didn't. So much credit to them because we saw the Jordan Marshall recruitment go the other way, another guy that we wanted. But getting those two guys, especially in the summer, I mean, I was like, there's no way we lose Bryce West and Aaron Scott. We can't. It's two Ohio corners in the top 100. It's almost a fireable offense at this point. So that room looks good. When I look at this entire class, it sort of mirrors what I see on the field a little bit. I mean, outside of D-line, which I thought our D-line was pretty solid this season, and only getting 2 recruits in D-line it's almost a fireable offense yet again. But you look across the board, the offensive line was just okay this season. They weren't great. The offensive line class is just okay. It's not great. Still holds the fill. Obviously, running back, that's one where we get a guy that looks pretty good, and we get a guy that's a little bit of a project. That's kind of what our running back room looks like. So across the board, it kind of just mirrors what we had, and that's kind of the top of Ohio State. Is like you want this class to kind of be elite in spots that we don't necessarily are getting elite production from. And we didn't quite get that, so that holds it down a little bit. But it seems like the usual Ohio State run-of-the-mill class.
Absolutely. We talked about some of the decommits. You said on the State of the Program yesterday that Jeremiah McClellan was one of the guys that you were most excited about. A little pre-recorded show, but we do have that link in the description of today's episode too. So if you want to check that out, No Menace today. So if you missed that yesterday, Kris and Q went for 2 hours. That link is in the description. So if you want to talk about all things Ohio State football, really resetting where we are as a program and just discussing everything as a whole, make sure that you check that out. So Q, Jeremiah McClellan does not sign with the Buckeyes. Who is the recruit that you are most excited to see in Columbus out of this class?
He was my sleeper pick. Now that he is gone, because the recruit I was most excited to see is Mylan Graham. I think he's just different from the wide receivers that we've had, and maybe a guy who can finally take a slant and be out of here. So I was most excited to see him. Switching my sleeper, it would be Ian Moore. I think he's a little bit overlooked on the O-line, coming in to play tackle, which we need desperately. Obviously, a highly ranked guy who we just haven't talked about because he's been in the class so long. I mean, he was here when Dylan Raiola was here, so it's been a while. But I think he's a sleeper pick. I honestly like the talent of this O-line class, but I think there are a lot of projects. But Ian Moore at the top of that, I think, is a great get for Ohio State.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. I feel like he is a sleeper pick there just because he has had such a quiet commitment. He has been committed for so long, and it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, we have a top 100 interior offensive lineman committed, and he's been solid from the start. So that's a great pick there. I mean, I hate to be like, I hate to pick the obvious, but it's like, Jeremiah Smith. like we got to talk about it. Like this recruitment has been literally one of the original arguments that Cam and I have had on Twitter. It is one of the reasons behind our beef with Miami fans and why we go at it with them so much. We had to concede JoJo Trader. We did a show about 6 months ago when he committed to Miami, and we talked for so long about how we were going to get both of those two as a package deal, and that dream was dashed when JoJo committed to Miami. But we do retain Jeremiah, and this is just one that we've been following for so long, watching a lot of his games at SFE, a lot of his high school games. just a commitment that, like, I mean, they said it countless times on the broadcast yesterday, a generational talent. And that's exactly what Jeremiah is. And for us to be wide receiver U and have all of the other South Florida Express kids to have a generational wide receiver talent come through the pipeline while you have, a generational wide receiver coach, when you look at the recruiting run that he's having. And it felt like a can't miss prospect. And the fact that, fingers crossed, we get to see him play as a Buckeye. And you know what I mean? He said in his interview at the beginning of the season, he's coming to Ohio State to be one of the best wide receivers to ever come through Ohio State. So if he's able to live up to that, I feel like what we're watching in the wide receiver room is what we just watched in the quarterback room. I mean, it felt like just a run of never-ending talent, and every year you say to yourself, no way it gets any better than Dwayne Haskins. Meet Justin Fields. No way it ever gets better than Justin Fields. Meet CJ Stroud. The same thing that we saw with the defensive end run, and it's just been awesome to see us be able to secure that commitment. I mean, it went all the way through the night, but I mean, at different points in the day, I hit up Jay Wimbrow early in the morning, and I said, is my day about to get worse? And this is after the Edric Houston news. This is after the Jeremiah McClellan news. And he's like, no. So we go through the commitment. Everything looks great. He commits to the Buckeyes, and then like we celebrate. We're putting out videos. I'm just looking at the likes and everything run up on the phone. I'm like, back to work. And then I look in the community, and it's like, still no letter. And I'm texting around. They're like, oh no, Ryan Day got a notification. He signed. Like, that's why his knees buckled. Like, we're good. Like, we're locked in. He signed. And then it still wasn't in. And the hours just kept ticking by. And then I tweeted yesterday, and people were like so confused. I'm like, they got me with that one. At one point around 7:00 at night, all of the Miami boosters from not whatever John Ruiz's collective is, but the other one, started tweeting gifs of Mario like they were celebrating something. And I'm like, I know they didn't just do this. Like, if they just embarrassed us, like, I'm going to be devastated. But it turns out they were celebrating the commitment of Marley Cook, another Buckeye target, a defensive tackle in the transfer portal, right?
Yeah, from Middleton.
So they were able to secure a commitment from him yesterday. So they definitely trolled the hell out of us with that. A few hours later, we do get the commitment from Jeremiah. It is a big sigh of relief that this commitment is finally over. And I mean, the Buckeyes finish with the number, I didn't even check this morning, the number 6 overall class. What are your thoughts there with the Buckeyes sliding to 6 with only 21 commits? Actually, before we get to that, I'm going to table that. We got a super chat from our guy, Travis. 247 says, Jeremiah hasn't signed yet. Tell me they're wrong. Baker is the biggest miss in my opinion. I don't know if you saw my reaction about 10 minutes ago when I opened the Ohio State 247 commits page. They have them under hard commits. Ohio State has the letter. They wouldn't put out the graphic without it. The people in the community yesterday were saying Marv tweeted it. It's official.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I do see that on 247 as well right now. He is still listed under hard commits. So is Morrow Evans, the long snapper. But I feel like that will be corrected. And I feel like the Buckeyes would not have put out that graphic if he was not committed. But Q, where are you at with all of this? How is it?
Yeah, let me touch on the end of that. And Baker was the biggest miss. Yeah, man, the tackle position, the big money NIL position, which is a whole nother discussion right now. It's been hurting. So yeah, that definitely was, because we had to have a big time tackle. I mean, we see Jordan Seaton still doing interviews, still committed just 2 weeks ago, but hasn't committed yet. But yeah, it was crazy. And it was just like, I feel like guys have been committed for so long. It's like, are we really recommitting on signing day? Like, did we handle this?
It felt like yesterday that like some of these guys weren't even committed.
Yeah, everybody had to recommit.
It was like, is he good? Is he a Buckeye? Like, it felt
Oh,
like a second commitment for everyone yesterday.
yeah, the Jeremiah Smith, obviously major prospect, one, and where you feel like you said, with guys walking in and out of his room, this probably is the most talented guy to walk in under Hartline, which is crazy when we watch the guy who's walking out the door just win the Biletnikoff and go crazy for 2 seasons. So obviously it's a big time get. Had to have him because we've just had him for so long, and it's a game of momentum. When you go down to South Florida and you get the biggest piece, and everybody in South Florida, when he talked about they're throwing money this way, throwing money that way, they're promising the world. He's going to have a house next to John Ruiz on the beach, you know what I'm saying, living up with a mansion. It's hard to get up out of there, but credit to Brian Hartline. He was able to pull him. The relationship won out. Ohio State NIL was working overtime just to hold guys, and then they were tweeting about it. So it's just a crazy day. And I'm like, man, can we have one day where it's just not other chaos? I feel like it's been weeks of just like, oh man, I don't even want to check the chat anymore. It's just day after day.
Everybody's like, oh, we've missed you. Like, where have you guys been? It's like taking a much needed break from this team.
Oh my God. It's
like breathing peacefully for the past 2 weeks until yesterday. So yeah, it has been a much needed break, but we are back. We got a big bowl game coming up, but I do want to continue on this class. I did get lost in my thoughts there earlier. In the number 6 class, we talked about at one point thinking that we had a chance at number 1. We end early signing day at 6 outside the top 5. We talk about, okay, we're in the top 2, top 3. That's fine. We're always a top 5 class. Or any concern there being 6 in recruiting and not the number 1 team in the Big Ten. Oregon moves to the Big Ten, and they finish with the number 5 class in the country, a class score of 290 with 30 commits. Any concerns there? The Buckeyes, normally a top 3 mainstay when it comes to these recruiting rankings, and they fall to 6 this year and 2nd in the Big Ten, and it's not to a traditional Big Ten power in a Penn State or Michigan or even a Michigan State. It is the newcomers to the conference, the Oregon Ducks. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, man. I talked about this with Kris Drew State of the program, where we talked about Oregon for a little bit and coming into the Big Ten and what jump they'd be able to make. And I was like, it's sort of these coaches like coming from smaller schools and now putting that Ohio State logo and going out there recruiting. That Big Ten logo on Oregon is a little bit different. Like, we just really pulled them out the hood with the Pac-12 over there. Like they're back in the suburbs now, living.
You don't gotta live like this no more,
bro. It was rough over there. So put that Big Ten logo next to the O, man. They're gonna be out here, doing numbers. So obviously, big time class for them. I am concerned about Ohio State recruiting, and I've been concerned for a while. Where I thought the reason I was so bent in hell on Ohio State's got to win it this year, even though it looks like everybody and their grandma might come back, is that the talent composite is clearly dropping. I mean, we talked about it yesterday, and we were like, when did this –
Is it?
I believe so. I believe it's not – we haven't quite done it at the level that we were doing it before, and especially coming off that, 2021 class, it has seemed to be disappointing class after disappointing class.
And maybe if you look at it, I don't know if that's the metric necessarily you're assessing, because
composite, but more of the
because power. I mean, when you look at the composite, the Buckeyes have a 92.26 average, which would have been higher, or is higher this year than it was in 2023. So it's a higher average recruit that they're receiving. I mean, that score this year's average rating, like per player, is higher than everyone in the top 5 last year except for Georgia. So I mean, I feel like they're getting the talent. One of the things that the Buckeyes are, I feel like, hurting themselves and shooting themselves in the foot is they don't oversign. Again, we see a light class of 21 players, and I know we hear all the rumors, the whole team's coming back. That's fine. All of these guys that are coming back are going to be here for 1 year. Like, no one's coming back for 2 years, all of these names that we're talking about in the draft. why are we not signing these 26, 27, 30-person classes where, okay, cool, you sign 9 guys that end up in the portal in 2 years. If one of those it doesn't even have to be 3-star, a lower 4-star, a guy in the 200s, 300s. If one of those guys hits and becomes a starter, is it not worth having that roster turnover of just having the extra guys in the class, even if you're processing guys out every year? Shouldn't that be what you're doing, making sure the cupboards are full so when you do go to win a national championship, like you're not like, oh, fuck, I don't have a left tackle because you have 6. It's like, okay, cool, we have 21 guys. Why not just go get 5 300-pounders that are 6'6"? Well, maybe one of them hits.
Hopefully.
Let them come lift with Mick for a year. I don't get it.
Yeah, man. I say that we don't sign a lot of players, and we have a lot of key misses that we've had over the last few years, and it feels like it's going to catch up with us eventually. I don't know why we don't oversign. I really don't, especially when you get there and on signing day, you're trying to keep all your major targets. And you think we're Edric Houston away from really not having a defensive line class at all. To partner that with, we didn't really have a defensive line class last year.
Our guy Cam Thomas said it's hard to sign all those players. I want to dive into that. So I'm looking at the top 10 classes in America right now. Georgia, 29 commits. Alabama, 26 commits. Texas, 24 commits. Miami, 31 commits. Oregon, 30 commits. Ohio State, 21 commits. Auburn, 24 commits. Notre Dame, 29 commits. Oklahoma, 33 commits. Florida State, 23. There is not a team in the top 10 of recruiting with less recruits than Ohio State. So while I understand it's hard to get some of those larger classes, the Buckeyes classes are small relative to everyone else in the Big Ten.
And we don't really use the transfer portal very much. It almost seems at all right now. Like last year, we all, went up in arms because the transfer portal hit and Ohio State went to bed. They did absolutely nothing until the spring where they were like, damn, can anybody play tackle? Like that's what it was in the spring. And we turned up, this year, transfer portal opens again and again. Ohio State is sleep on the transfer portal trail. Talking about, well, guys might come back, so we don't need to sign recruits, so we don't need to deport us. Like, they're only coming back for 1 year. You got to do something. Like I don't know about you, but if Tyleek has 3 more years of eligibility, I don't know about it. So you got to get something tackle in here.
Yeah, man. I mean, we do have bodies in that room too, which is crazy when you think about it. I mean, we have Jaden McKenzie, Jason Moore, Hero Canute, Tywan Malone, Tyleek, Mike Hall. The room is kind of loaded, but it's like they're that class. I mean, what Hero Canute is going to be a junior?
Yeah, he'd be a junior.
By the time, like, we're gonna have a junior, and then Jaden McKenzie would be the youngest in the class, so he'll be a sophomore. But like, I don't know. That room's
he's a junior as well. I feel like Jaden McKenzie's been around for a while.
I'm not exactly sure.
Caden McDonald, Jason Moore, sophomores.
Okay.
So they're at least here they at least have to come back for another year. I think everybody else.
So I mean, we don't have too many young bodies on that defensive line, and then we know the misses that we've seen at edge. So hopefully they're gonna have to do something in the portal within the next year to replenish that defensive line. But I do want to flip to the other side of the ball. We got a super chat from our guy Mike Green. My boy Ron, what up? King of a 2-pack of ass. That is my favorite. That is my favorite saying from Joe Budden on the Joe Budden podcast. It's a 2-pack of ass. I was just putting my soundboard together on the in OBS for my Twitch streams, and that was literally the first sound that I put on the soundboard. That's a 2-pack of ass. It must be said. But I want to flip over to the other side of the ball real quick before we get out of here. A lot has been made about Ohio State misses at tackle. I am less concerned about it because I think that we put together an awesome offensive line class with the Armstrong twins and Devontae and Deontay Armstrong and Ian Moore, your sleeper pick earlier in the show. What is your grade for Justin Fry in this cycle in the recruiting class? Because I see Deontay Armstrong ranked in the 300s as an offensive tackle. I'm going to tell you right now, that dude is a 5-star talent at tackle. I mean, he is an absolute athletic freak show, and I know Justin Fry is going to turn him into a first-round talent. I think he's going to be absolutely great. I think Ian Moore is going to be a great guard. I think Devontae Armstrong is going to end up playing at guard as well. I think this is a solid class. We got 2 premier offensive linemen from the state of Ohio in the Armstrong twins, and then we go to Indiana and get Ian Moore from Justin Fry's backyard. Did we miss on the big tackle signings? Yeah, but I mean, I feel like tackle has become the hardest position to sign in sports. You got Jordan Seaton pulls a Terrell Pryor and doesn't even sign yesterday. His kid's been all over the place with his commitment. These tackles are getting paid just as much as quarterbacks, if not more, especially with a class like this where a lot of the quarterbacks were signed so early. It feels like tackle is becoming a position that's damn near impossible to get some of these top 50, top 100 type tackles. And, you see Justin Fry go out there and get Josh Simmons, who, was playing out of his mind by the end of the year. Do you think that tackle is going to become a portal type of position for Ohio State and we're going to just work with what we get in state? Or do you think Justin Fry is just getting his feet wet here at Ohio State and we have 5 stars down the pipeline?
It's a little complicated at tackle, man. One, I feel like you're gonna have to eventually hit on these big time tackles, on the trail, because looking at the portal, even the way Ohio State attacks it, it's playing the same game. I mean, we talked about Chase Bisonte as a guy we missed out a couple of years ago and trying to circle back and getting him. And early it was established that was going to be very hard to do. So this is just a hard position to recruit. Your NIL is going to have to be on point. And you look at the other big schools. I mean, Georgia doesn't really struggle, going out to get a tackle. Alabama doesn't seem to struggle going out to get a tackle. We know Texas ain't struggling going out and getting anybody right now.
I want to go look at Georgia's offensive line class and read you off some of the measurements of these tackles, because I'm like, I didn't even know there were that many humans in the world this large.
I think South Carolina got like 2 top 10 tackles. Like
Daniel Calhoun, 6'6", 365. We got Marquise Easley, 6'5", 335. Nair Daniels, 6'8", 360. Michael Uni, 6'7", 335. Marcus Harrison, 6'7", 336.
Packers?
Nnamdi Igboko, 6'4", 335. Oh, that's a defensive lineman. Oh, here we go. Interior offensive lineman, 6'5", 320. These guys are freak shows. Like, they have no issue. They signed 6 guys over 6'5" and 330 pounds. We can't get one of them?
No.
Let me hold one of them.
Lord, I've seen what you do for others. Like, hold on, man. You give us something. Eventually, something's got to give here. I think I wouldn't necessarily put the blame on Justin Fry. I mean, as it seems, me and Kris talked about it at depth. So make sure you go try to stay at the program. I don't know where NIL really is at this point. Like, it seems to be okay. Like, it seems like we're doing all right, but it's going to have to get a lot better if we're going to compete and win these big battles, and not only win them, but get these guys across the line, which we saw was a little bit of a struggle yesterday. So eventually something's got to give. I mean, Justin Fry is on the trail. I feel like he's the guy to get it done. I do like this O-line class. There's a lot of talent there, but eventually you just got to pull in those big time guys, because last year we're looking, clock finally hit, and it's like, who's going to play tackle? Maybe this guy. Luckily, Josh Simmons was very good in the portal. Like, that is a very, this was the last desperate stretch, and he turned out to be good later in the season. We're like, okay, all right, we're all right here. So if you're relying on that, what if he didn't turn out to be very good? We would have been more Sack Haven than it already was with Kyle McCord. So eventually, you're going to have to hit on these. Eventually, you got to get a Brandon Baker. I thought early on in the trail when we were going after Brandon Baker and Jordan Seaton and thought we were actually getting both of them. I'm like, this probably be the best offensive
You
line.
thought that we were getting both of them.
I thought we were getting both of them.
I didn't.
Well, I had faith.
Look, I saw Brandon Baker. I seen Brandon Baker in the Stingray with Steve Sarkisian, and I said, it's Jover. Don't talk to me about this kid no more. He's not fucking coming here.
What? We got shot. Man. We good.
I'm like, do not talk to me about this kid. He's not fucking coming here. I ain't seen a recruit smile like that at Ohio State in years.
Look, man, 20% of an apartment building, man. We good over here.
Bro, this motherfucker was smiling so much on that visit, I could see every tooth in his mouth.
I bought the hype. I was like, they both coming. We gonna have a monster O-line class.
Jover.
Maybe next year. Maybe next year. But eventually, tackle has got to give. You have to pay somebody or put it together. You got to get somebody through the door. Luckily, there's some Ohio guys coming down the pipeline, which seems to be our safe haven at this point because the next couple of years, the classes are looking a lot better than they were before. So maybe that's the help, but we got to get somebody in the door.
Absolutely. We're running low on time here. Both of us need to get to work here. I want to give a big shout out to all of the guys that we did not talk about today. Aaron Nolan, I mean, locked in with us. I tweeted yesterday. The best part about yesterday, all of signing day yesterday, was Aaron Nolan's suit. I mean, black head to toe, like he was going to a funeral, all black Ohio State hat. Fresh as hell. That's the swag we need back at quarterback. I'm super excited to have him, an absolute baller out of Georgia, James Peoples. I know you hate this comparison, but I mean, we've seen the comparisons. J.K. Dobbins-esque.
Put on the film.
J.K. Dobbins-esque out of Texas. San Antonio kid. Ryan Day said in his presser yesterday he expects him to play Garrett Stover, younger cousin of Cade Stover, coming in, former high school safety, expected to play linebacker. Peyton Pierce, another linebacker, a Notre Dame Leam that Jamie Laurinaitis was able to convince. Miles Lockhart, you know that's Q's guy, a fellow Arizonian. Max LeBlanc, big shout out to him. He is a Tennessee guy. He has done interviews with our guys Smokey and Lito from Student of the Game. They have wished him nothing but well and good things here at Ohio State, despite being Tennessee fans. Big shout out to Max LeBlanc. Gabe Van Sickle. Offensive lineman out of Michigan. And then we got Demario Witten, a tight end out of Glenville, the recruit that Coach Key was visiting when he was unfortunately robbed a few weeks ago. Jalen McClain, safety out of New Jersey. Eric Mensa, an edge out of Virginia. We talked about the Armstrong twins. Sam Williams-Dixon, a running back out of Ohio. That's why it was a little confusing when Jordan Lyle committed. We had already had James People and Sam Williams-Dixon. I didn't understand the taking of a third running back. You see Lyles flip to Miami. And then lastly, safety Leroy Roker. So, I mean, big shout out to all of the future Buckeyes. Can't wait to see you guys on campus. We have one more question before we get out of here, unrelated to signing day, and a preview into our next episode, which will likely be the morning of the bowl game or the day before, from our guy Mike Green. If Devin balls out in the bowl game, will Ryan Day look bad?
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
All season, like, this is a quarterback away from a natty season. Is what it looked like. If he balls out, it's not going to look good.
Yeah, it's not going to look good, but it will be the return of the phrase lying day, because if he started Kyle over Devin and Devin comes out here and balls out, I mean, they're going to have to build an excuse. Well, he had the injury and that slowed his development during the summer, and then he got hurt. Maybe we thought about putting him in after the Purdue game, but he was hurt, so we couldn't do it. Our hands were kind of tied there. We just had to roll with Kyle. I feel like we're going to get a whole lot of that. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for big things for Devin Brown. I feel like the Burn the Boats tweet was the start of a legendary historic story at Ohio State. I'm hoping that he is able to ball out. And I would imagine Ryan Day is rooting for the same thing. I feel like Ryan Day would be glad to be wrong to know that he has his quarterback of the future going into next year and settle any questions that people have about the quarterback position. But I mean, he did say in his press conference that we will have an open, healthy quarterback battle between Devin, Air, and Lincoln. I don't know if he'll be sticking to his guns there. Um, After the game, if Devin balls out, it'll be fun to see if anyone asks him that question. I'm getting a low PC battery notification before this ends, and we can't end the stream. I gotta plug that in. But yeah, man, I feel like Ryan Day would be happy to be wrong, and I'm sure he's gonna get asked the question: is he ready to name a starter right after the bowl game, regardless of how Devin plays? So it'll be funny to see how he responds to that. I'm sure he's gonna push it off all the way to the spring. I would like to see hopefully someone have it secured by spring because I mean it feels like it has been a civil war then turned into a roller coaster of a season, and now we are finally in the off season and I'm just like trying to catch my breath after this year because I mean at no point did they make it easy on us. It was a tough year, and I'm super excited to see what the future of the Buckeyes look like. And maybe the future of the Buckeyes looks like a lot of this year's team because we're hearing the rumors that a lot of guys are coming back. Everyone's playing in the bowl game. So, I mean, while we're going to be seeing a new face at quarterback, we're going to be seeing a lot of familiar faces all over the field. And I'm excited to see what this team could be next year because if everyone does return, I feel like the Buckeyes are national title favorites, maybe with that type of defense, depending on how Devin balls out. So, we will see what happens. Super excited to see what happens on the 29th. Your thoughts there, Q?
I don't want to say that that early. Let me see something real quick. Let me see who's starting and what the rotation look like. But I'm excited for this game. I only have one message for the bowl game. Play the young guys, man. Play the young guys. Let me see some people I haven't seen yet. Give me some excitement. But no, definitely looking forward. Devin Brown, go light it up. It don't look like we're getting a transfer quarterback, so we got what we got. Let's go.
Absolutely. But we got to jump out of here. I appreciate everyone pulling up today. A great national signing day as it finally comes to a close. Jeremiah Smith is officially a Buckeye. The 2024 class is damn near official. So super excited to see those guys on campus. Appreciate everyone tuning in today. Happy holidays. Everyone have a safe holiday. Our guy Mike said, make sure you guys break some bread, give some good gifts this holiday season. Enjoy your family, spend some time with people you love. We appreciate you guys, and go Bucks. We got a game in what, 7-8 days?
Yeah,
We'll be back here in a few days after the holidays. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Q, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, first shout out to Travis, shout out to Mike for the super chats. Greatly appreciate it on this day back. Do not forget, State of the Program Part 1 is out. Part 2 will be early next week, right here on YouTube. So you don't gotta go nowhere, man. Just show back up. It's gonna be a banger. I gotta produce it, so it's gonna be fun. Chris Drew will be back, and we know y'all love him. You want to find me, City Boy Quentin on Twitter, find Josh on Instagram, anywhere else. Those two places will lead you there.
I just checked my Twitter DMs. I sent Gmo the link for the show because people were asking for him. They said, "Where's Gmo at?" And I shot him a text and I said, "Hey, the people on the show are asking for you. I sent the link to your DM." I just checked the DMs. It said, "Fuck no." So I think it'll be a while before you guys hear from Big Cap Radio. If you guys want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at 2Ts2_TEES. It's the same thing on Twitch. I'll be streaming probably over the holidays. And of course, right here on the Best Damn Media YouTube channel. I'm sure we're going to be doing a few shows here before the end of the year. So make sure that you tap in, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you keep an eye out for the Fans Edge with Mike, Cam, and Disney. I know Q is going to be doing another episode of State of the Program, and yesterday's episode of State of the Program is in the description of today's show. So if you want more content out of Q and Kris Drew, it was live yesterday on the Menace channel. Make sure you go check that out. Appreciate all the super chatters. Appreciate everyone that has supported us this entire season. It has meant the world to us. It has been so fun to do this and watch this grow and be able to cover our favorite team despite how frustrating they can be at times. We appreciate you guys. I hope you guys all had a great National Signing Day and have a great holiday season. We appreciate you guys. Go Bucks and OH.
Happy holidays.
My hometown.